A lot of health advice that women follow sounds right on the surface, but in many cases it's extremely outdated or there's so much nuance to it that's being overlooked. So today I'm going over 5 common health myths, where they came from, what's wrong with them, what we should do instead. Hi, I'm Maria. I'm a certified health coach and I help women in peri and menopause navigate through this stage of life with real-life evidence-based strategies that actually move the needle. I help women lose fat, gain energy, and get their metabolic health back so that they can make this their best chapter yet. The first myth is drinking a tall glass of water before a meal. Now, this rule came from some weight loss research showing that if people drank a full glass of water before their meal, in some cases, it helped them eat a little less. Although this wasn't successful for everybody, it just kind of became a hard, fast rule. The problem with this rule is that it basically ignores digestion. If you're drinking a large amount of water before your meal, and if you're already one that tends to get bloated or feel uncomfortable already after meals, this can just exacerbate the issue. It's not that the water itself is bad, it's the amount of volume in your stomach and the timing. In addition, many women in midlife tend to deal with lower stomach acid, so spacing out large amounts of water in between meals rather than with a meal can help support digestion a little better, especially protein breakdown. So it's better to try to hydrate with water throughout the day rather than playing catch up with a meal. And during a meal, it's okay to have a few sips here and there, just don't guzzle an entire glass of water. What you should do instead is just be mindful of your meal, focus on it, chew your food very thoroughly. Try to aim for an applesauce consistency with every bite. That means chewing your food at least 25 to 30 times. When I'm very conscious of it, I'm actually counting in my head. And I can often see that many times I'm ready to swallow that food long before that 20 to 30 count. So it's really important to just hang in there and chew that food just a little while longer. Digestion starts in the mouth, and the more you can help to break up those pieces and give it more surface area, the better your stomach can do its job. Myth number 2 is that eggs raise cholesterol. Now, this came from an old study that linked dietary cholesterol directly to blood cholesterol. And eggs somehow became the scapegoat of the study because they are a little higher in cholesterol overall. This message stuck for decades, and it really reduced the amount of eggs people ate in general. What we understand now is that the body regulates cholesterol production, and it has almost nothing to do with actually consuming cholesterol from an animal source. For many people, dietary cholesterol has little to no impact on their overall metabolic health. What impacts them more is insulin resistance, inflammation, and diet quality overall, aka processed and ultra-processed foods. Eggs should definitely not be considered the bad guy. In fact, they are jam-packed with so many incredible nutrients. They're a whole protein, they have vitamins D and B12, and the yolk contains choline, which is incredible for brain health and eye health, so don't skimp out on that yolk. So don't be afraid to enjoy your eggs. I have at least 3 eggs a day, plus a ton of egg whites, and I always balance it out with some fresh fibrous veggies, a little bit of beans, and an avocado. That's a much healthier, well-rounded meal as opposed to having eggs on the side of some highly processed food and excess saturated fat. Believe me, of that kind of combination, the eggs are definitely not what's causing your issue. Myth number 3 is that soy is bad for hormones. Now, this concern came about because soy contains phytoestrogens, and phytoestrogens interact with estrogen receptors. So this led to the assumption that soy actually disrupts hormone balance. But what completely gets overlooked here is that the compounds in soy are so much weaker than human estrogen, and they can actually have a regulating effect rather than an overwhelming one. Research has not shown any harmful effects to women when consuming soy, and in some cases, soy has actually been associated with cardiovascular benefits and support for women in menopause. The key, of course, is sticking to organic soy as a whole food. So things like tofu, tempeh, and edamame. This is very different from finding soy in highly processed foods and packaged goods. So definitely don't avoid soy, but just be very intentional with the food choices that you make. One of my easiest and most favorite tofu meals to make, and I make it at least a few times a week, is I take a block of organic firm tofu, chop it up into cubes, and add it to a sheet pan full of my most favorite veggies. I love a mix of peppers, onions, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, and I also like to throw in carrots and sometimes a chopped up sweet potato. Douse it with salt and pepper, just a tiny bit of olive oil. So easy, so delicious, jam-packed of so many nutrients, fiber, and whole protein. Quick pause to ask if you're finding this information helpful, please subscribe for weekly content that help women in midlife. I also offer a free monthly newsletter full of helpful information for women in peri and menopause, and that is in the description box below. You can sign up there. And while you're at it, you can follow me on Instagram for daily tips and strategies that help you through this chapter of your life. Myth number 4 is that lifting weights will make you bulky. Now, this is such an outdated rule, and where did it come from? Well, it stems from decades ago, from the fitness craze of the 80s and 90s, where fitness marketing pushed onto women that you needed to be toned and lean. And the way to do this was to use light weights with high repetition to achieve a toned look instead of a bulky one. I think so much fear was put into women's minds back in the day that if they even saw a bodybuilder on a magazine and thought that they would look anywhere close to that, but just by picking up a 20-pound weight. Well, that doesn't happen. It certainly doesn't happen overnight. And it takes a very, very long time to get that far, oftentimes with a little bit of help, I'd imagine, because for most women, it is actually physically impossible to get that bulky. Women have 15 to 20 times less the testosterone in their bodies than men do. And testosterone is the primary driver of muscle hypertrophy. So without it, our bodies can get stronger and denser, but they just don't get wider. In addition, the only way to bulk up while you're lifting weights is to actually go into a massive calorie surplus. That means you really have to up your calories in order to make that bulking actually happen. Most women that lift weights are actually burning more fat and more calories than they're taking in, and that helps to build muscle while losing fat, creating a toned, lean, strong look. And the great thing about muscle is that it takes up less space on your body than fat does, so you look leaner even though you might weigh the same. In addition, building lean muscle will improve your metabolic rate. Strength training also improves insulin sensitivity, and when your muscles are more responsive to insulin, they tend to take in glycogen for storage rather than storing it as fat. Another benefit is that strength training actually stimulates osteoblast activity, and that means it's supporting bone formation and bone density. So try to incorporate some strength training into your daily exercise. Focus on doing it maybe 2 to 4 times a week, working on your largest muscles, using challenging weights, slow controlled movement with progression over time. So heavier weights, fewer repetitions, and this will be more effective than lighter weights with higher reps. But what I would love to see most of all is that you're actually just moving your body. Whether it's lighter weights, heavier weights, or finding some other way that you enjoy, just get that movement in. Myth number 5 is that having one bowel movement a week is normal. Well, it might feel normal because it's kind of our new baseline. I think for many of us ladies out there, in midlife, in perimenopause, menopause, and beyond, we have just gradually gotten used to pooping less and less and less. Maybe in some cases, and for many of us, myself included, it would be to the point of 1 time a week was a natural, normal baseline for us. Well, I hate to break it to you, but pooping once a week, maybe even twice a week, is far from normal. From a clinical standpoint, fewer than 3 bowel movements a week is considered constipation, but the frequency alone does not tell the full story. We need to consider the stool consistency, the ease of passage, and whether or not we're completely evacuating. All these things matter. When bowel movements are this infrequent to less than 3 times a week, we have to take into consideration slow gut motility. This basically means that our food and waste products are just moving through our digestive tract far too slowly. Several factors can influence this, and number 1, of course, is low fiber. Low fiber intake reduces the stool bulk. That paired with low hydration makes the stool harder and much more difficult to pass. Once I started forcing myself to drink at least 60 ounces of water a day, that in itself made a dramatic difference in the frequency of my bowel movements. Before that, I would go several hours in the day without drinking water. I know I was severely dehydrated, so something as simple as just drinking water could really truly help. Also consider taking magnesium. It's an incredible supplement for muscle relaxation, including relaxing the intestinal wall. So a lack of magnesium can really contribute to that sluggish motility in the gut, and many of us are very depleted in magnesium because you just don't get it from foods like we used to. So supplementing with magnesium glycinate is definitely something to strongly consider. The gut microbiome also plays a role here. Certain bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which help stimulate the colon, so it's important to feed our good bacteria. That means taking in a lot of fiber. If you're going only once a week, that could be easily contributing to the excess bloat that you might feel. Having that slow motility increases the fermentation in the gut, and the fermentation is producing bloat and gas. Find ways to incorporate more fiber, but do it slowly and gradually if it's not something you're already concentrating on in your diet. Increase your veggies, berries, seeds, and legumes if you can at all. Start off slowly, drink tons and tons of water along with it. Also, moving your body daily, trying to get those walks in at least 10 minutes after those larger meals. This movement will help get that gut moving as well. I know talking about bowel movements can be a very touchy, sensitive, and embarrassing topic, but we all do it. We all go through it. We shouldn't be embarrassed about it. And if there's something going wrong, we should be able to address it and find the cause so that we can make the proper adjustments to our diet and lifestyle to improve on these factors. If you're feeling like your body has changed overnight and you're not quite sure how to adjust, this is exactly what I help women do. I offer one-on-one private coaching, and we look at your specific symptoms. Things like belly fat, bloating, low energy, and we build a strategy that actually works for your body rather than guessing. If that's something you're interested in, please check the description box below to book a free discovery call. I hope you found this information helpful. Please let me know in the comments below which of these 5 myths you're ready to do away with. And let me know if you have any questions or ideas for a future video that you'd like me to tackle. Please remember to subscribe and like this video. It really truly helps the channel out. I appreciate you being here, and I'll see you very soon in the next video. Have a great week. Bye.